my podcast, Ethical Hacking, Guest and Wholesomeness. And I to say that today is 1 year of being affiliate on Twitch for me, so it's also my anniversary. And okay, then am I here? So I'm a penetration tester. I have this passion for penetration testing, offensive security, red team, physical pen testing, social engineering, all those things. So I'm trying to invite people that are like in those topics as well, so we can chat about my favorite things. So I'm a bit selfish here, I guess. I also wanted to like invite people that are important to me to the industry, and like put some light on them. Like maybe they don't know how to promote them, or like, so I wanted to like give them a stage, and also like be better at public speaking, so like we can kill two birds with one stone, as we say in Poland. So okay, so now big screen. This is Victor, and before like Victor Hanna, and before I like introduce him, just like waving to him and like going to change the screen. So we are not like distracting and just can talk again. So Exploit Security, that's his company. He has a web page here, and it's going to be shared in the links. And also like on the Exploit Security, you can like go like on this page, you can go here and select shops or services. There was a store. I think it's on this page. So if you go there, exploit security or products, you can see that he also has like a store here. So can you can buy a T-shirt or exploit badge. I actually, if you can like remember, I want to ask about the exploit badge. Like, what does it do?
Absolutely.
And also like damn vulnerable Raspberry Pi. That's something like Victor created. I will ask about that later, but just like so we know what will be the topics more or less. So that's a firmware designed to teach hardware hacking through intentional vulnerabilities on Raspberry Pi, and I think that's super cool because I wanted to like create my own lab with Raspberry Pi as well, and also like Victor has a blog on Substack, and like if you just there'll be like link for sure. So I will also ask about inner mentorship and about this blog overall, but like let's go back to Victor, and I will go full screen. And can you introduce yourself to everyone? So they're like I'm giving the stage to you now.
Perfect, Doriana. Thank you very much for the and congratulations on the 1 year. That's great to hear.
Yay!
Yeah, it's perfect. It's been actually I think it's been 2 years since we last spoke, right? Something like that. Maybe something like that. I can't quite
That
remember. But
was
it's
a
been
long, yeah, I think it was like maybe a year and a half or something like that.
yeah.
But it's like
You've
times flies, so
absolutely, absolutely. It was kind of like yesterday, but it has time has flown. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm Victor Hanna. I run Exploit Security, obviously a penetration testing firm here in Australia, as you can probably tell from the accent. But yeah, we've obviously been running for about 2.5 years now, and our niche is hardware hacking, embedded systems, IoT. That's sort of what we use as our niche with most of our clients. And just generally, we deal with consultancy, cyber consultancy for relevant companies. Um, that's about it. I guess I've been in the industry for coming up to a decade now in terms of cyber. That is, I did a little bit more than that back in the day prior to my cyber experience. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
thank you for coming to my stream. Like, if anyone saw my YouTube channel, you will already know that I had again, like, I was hosting Victor, like at the beginning of my podcast, like the very very beginning. So I didn't have a good like sound or quality or like anything. I didn't know like much what I'm doing. So I decided to invite him again so he can have like a better chance of like I don't know talking with me and like other people like actually hearing what he's saying. So here we are again. And you already introduced yourself again, but I wanted to ask that question from like a different perspective. So can you tell us who is Victor and like what makes you happy?
Yeah, This is an interesting question. I think a lot of us don't really understand who we are. So it's kind of a poignant question to be asking. And when you're doing it introspectively, it's kind of like, well, actually, I've never asked myself that question, you know. But I think it changes depending on the day that you ask me that question. But I guess in a nutshell, someone that's passionate about tech, someone that tries to live by example, someone that has a love for lifelong learning, um, someone that loves being a father, a husband, loves giving back to his fellow humans, um, and yeah, a work in progress, I guess, a work in progress, and that's something that is um, we diligently work on. And I talk about myself in the third person there, so I apologize. But working on ourselves in kind of an ongoing way and trying to be better day by day. So that's me in a nutshell. What makes me happy? That's a good question, Doretta, as well. I think all of the above. I think the fact that we're still trying to work ourselves out. We're trying to get to a point where we can um, live in this world uh, in the best way possible. And to do that, you have to kind of go through trials and tribulations. Um, I think being against hardship is a good thing. I think it only ever makes you come out the other side stronger. And I think if I can potentially get through life uh, using my curiosity to get to the next stage of wisdom. I think that'll be what makes me happy at the end of it. If I can instill some of that in my kids, that'll be another plus. Um, and if I can continue down this road of being passionate about what I do in tech and striving to be a better person day in day out, then I think that's what's gonna make me happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I have to say that now because I think one of the reasons why I invited you again is that I was so impressed with your emotional intelligence the last time we spoke that I thought, okay, this is like a super intelligent person. I have to talk with him again. So here we are. And also wanted to say that this what you said just now resonated with me as well, because I was like stuck in just like this pen testing, for a few
Yeah.
years, and then I had like been slapped by life, events happened, and now then I started thinking, okay, maybe penetration testing, like my work development, what I'm doing in my professional life is not like the most important thing about me. And like if you take out like if I ask myself who is Dorota and I take out like my job description, like my nationality, I don't know, like how I look like then
Mhm.
I should ask that question again and try to like I hope I'm a good person, so that I hope that's the answer. But also like something to for others to think about, like who are you actually, like have you ever thought about that? And so thank you for answering, like it was amazing. Uh, and
Yeah,
the next
I do.
question.
And
Yeah,
to
go
get back on
ahead.
what you just said, actually, you're right. I think last time we spoke, it was pretty in depth, and I enjoyed our conversation last time. I think it was kind of enlightening, and it's kind of good to get away from tech sometimes and talk about things that drive oneself. I think that's what we spoke about last time in terms of what drives you and what we spoke about, what drives myself, and I guess a lot of that can resonate with other people as well.
Yeah, so okay, I wanted to ask the screen question, but I will switch it up a bit because I saw your blog post about
Mhm.
inner mentorship. So I wanted to ask, could you explain to everyone what do you think is inner mentorship and explain the concept. What does it mean to you?
Absolutely. When we spoke last time, it was basically conceived after our conversation, to be honest,
Cool.
because the idea that remember when we spoke about mentorship, right? Um, trying to find a mentor, started looking inside and looking for an answer to some of these struggles that most people have, which is sometimes you don't have the opportunity to have a mentor available. So what do you do in those cases? What do you do in those circumstances? Well, sometimes, and in my, I guess in my experience, a lot of the time you can actually find mentorship internally, inside yourself. You are wise beyond your means in some cases because you've lived an experience. You have different types of trials and tribulations. These are all learnings, and I think you can, if you tap into these learnings by just essentially being mindful. And again, we spoke about this last time, but if you take, for example, 15 minutes a day, just to be mindful about your own within your own self, sometimes answers come out. Sometimes answers to many questions you arrive at by basically just looking inside. And so, what inner mentorship is to me, I kind of coined the term kind of an inner sensei, whereby if I have a struggle at some point in my life and I need some sort of answer that I can't get externally, I'm going to look inside, be quiet, look inside, and see what comes back from that, that inner scrutiny, and that's what it means to me. I think it can be used. Um, it doesn't take many resources to get access to that inner mentor. You can actually just sit quietly, without distraction, putting away all electronic equipment, for example, and then just look inside and see what comes back. And that's essentially what I mean by inner mentorship, because it may drive a lot of the questions that you have. There may be answers to those questions by just looking inside yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like what I also like learned about myself, like because I said that I was like really stuck on pen testing, but like last 2 years, I really focused on like making myself a better person and like growing internally and like also healing my like wounds, like
Yeah.
childhood traumas or whatever. And so like what I learned from that is I have a very strong intuition, but I don't listen to it sometimes. So then
Yeah.
if I don't listen to it and I said, oh, Dorota, you're crazy, like, oh, it's like nothing, let's do it anyway. And then I get into trouble and I get into like bad relationships and like people that are trying to manipulate me or like bad things happen. So I decided to, yeah, listen to my intuition because I know that my brain is like, we are like very powerful beings. And I know that my brain is all powerful by itself. So by going through life lessons, like living my life and going through all those mistakes and like burning myself with like a few times with people that shouldn't be trusted. Now my
Hmm.
brain like sees the path and like gives me a warning. Okay, you already know that. This is like you already experienced that. Maybe you don't want to go through that again. So you just listen to your intuition, and that will be already your guidance. And sometimes you have to like ask yourself who you are first to know what kind of like path you want to take, because how can you decide anything in your life if you don't know who you are? So how can you adjust your life accordingly if you, I don't know, you don't know who you are and what you like even. So yeah, listen to yourself,
Absolutely.
like whatever, like everything what he just said is like I think true. And
Yeah. No, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I think I've done a little bit of reading, catching up on reading in the last year or so, and there's one title that I wanted to kind of, I guess, recommend to you, which was Tiny Experiments. So I'm not sure if you know that title, but just jot it down. And essentially,
can you
um,
repeat?
Tiny Experiments.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll say I can send you through the author, but the author is pretty knowledgeable. And Anne-Laure Lecomte is her name, and essentially, what she talks about is, in a nutshell, is following your curiosity, right? Following your curiosity to answer the questions that you wouldn't otherwise ask. So, if you have a curiosity for a certain subject or a certain idea, then follow that curiosity. In other words, follow your intuition and let that lead you down a path that may open up other doors for you. And that's really what she talks about in a nutshell. But she goes way deeper than that. But I recommend the book. Really nice read as well. Um, but I think you're right. Most of the time we lose the connection to ourselves, and we don't necessarily, because of the distractions around us, we find it difficult to reconnect with ourselves, and that leads us sometimes astray because we essentially don't have that. We're not following that intuition that we so rightly should, and that kind of can create some wayward um, wayward paths, And so that's inner mentorship is all about that. It's all about intuition. Absolutely.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that I read. I don't know if I totally believe in that, but it's kind of in my mind is connected to the intuition thing. So I read that if you make a decision, there's like parallel universes are being created. So if you have like one decision, then like two worlds are being created in one that you didn't make the decision, and the other one that you did. So by like I don't want to like go and like follow like the uh, foxtail here with like my story and like forget what I actually meant to say, but that's why you should listen to your intuition, because uh, there's like it's connected with the parallel universe thing, that if you want something very very much, it's maybe something that you already have in the future. So it's like I don't know if that's the truth, but it's possible that like the future and the past is happening at the same time as
No,
the
I can.
present. So
Yeah,
like that's
I
why
follow
I
that
think we should like listen, like okay, this is like something I know already.
Yeah, I follow that logic because I think if you do look at it as multiple pathways, and one is stronger than the other, then that may be the intuition that's pulling you down that direction, for example, right? So you can look at
Yeah,
it that way as well. And if we're talking about a multiverse, well, that's another conversation for another time.
yeah, yeah,
But
of
yes,
course.
it totally kind of makes sense to me. I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, okay, so let's get back from the past, because I
Yeah, that's
can
good.
talk about that for hours, so that's like interesting to me. But I wanted to actually know, can you tell us more, like, how did you get into cyber? Like, what was the moment for you that made you think, okay, that's it, I want to do that, and like, I'm passionate about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, for my history is varied, but coming up, I was introduced to, I guess, tech quite early on in the piece. My cousins were programmers early on, and I was fortunate enough to have a father that introduced me to kind of PCs and computers and all that sort of stuff. So essentially, what that means is I was kind of put on that road without even knowing that I was on that road. It drew me through my life being interested in tech because I was subject to it quite early on, and because um, I guess I just followed that path all the way through to its full conclusion, which is tech all the way, IT all the way, from IT into cyber, and then it was basically just a natural progression for me. You know, it feels that way when I rewind the clock. It feels like it was a natural progression that I never veered off into other places. But I think, um, if we talk about and use that common theme, which is intuition, I think my intuition brought me down that track. And it was something that I don't think I could have changed even if I wanted to be honest. Um, so, yeah, I think for me, it was just a natural progression. I guess the idea um, stuck with my mind quite early on, and I was never able to shake it.
Yeah, so it was kind of like meant to be, in a way.
Yeah, look, that's the way I'm going to explain it to most people. Is it was kind of meant to be, but at the end of the day, um, there were some seeds planted by various people in my life, I think, and I think that's why it's important, especially from a father's perspective, um, to plant the right seeds at the right time. And obviously, you're not going to be the only influence in your child's life, but obviously, life also teaches, and there are other individuals that can have that influence as well. But I guess when you couple that with the personality type and you couple that with um, perhaps a yearning to learn, then these sorts of things lend themselves to a certain pastime. And I guess that's why I find myself in this industry.
Yeah, I think like thank you for sharing. Like my path wasn't like yours, but it it like made me think about like the light bulbs that were like flashing when like I saw, okay, this is like really cool. I'm really interested in that. So I wanted to study computer science, but I didn't believe in myself enough. And when I was a teenager, in that time, like I felt like computer science is like something only for men. Like the society told me, like I don't know, my family. So I didn't
Hmm.
go. But then, when I study economics, and then I also like were working for local government after I graduated with master's degree. I felt like for years that not living my own life. That I'm not in the right place where I should be. That I'm on the right, not on the right path. That I should maybe, I don't know what, like I didn't feel like I belong, so, in like that career. So,
Yeah,
and then I
gotcha.
felt like this, like I started to like feeling like maybe a bit depressed because like I was mobbed in that work, and like I wasn't having like the best experience. So then I thought, okay, Dorota, this is your life. You're probably going to work here till you retire or you die. So do you want that life for yourself? And then I started thinking, okay, no. uh, and then I started thinking like, oh, what was the things that made me like have that spark that, or I really like that. So I finally went back to the path and went into IT, went into testing and cyber. So here I am. So I guess what I'm trying to say, if you feel out of place and like you don't belong, that might be something like actually you don't belong here and you should do something else, and that
Exactly.
you have like a calling, like you were born on this earth to for some reason. So maybe my reason was to go into cyber and to show other people that they can do it even when they are like in their 30s and they just divorced and like the life is in ruin, so they can still achieve something and like climb, and by learning and like applying themselves to their goal and like their passion and their dream, and then they can achieve something. And your life doesn't have to end when you're 30, and like it's like not decided that you have to work in one job till you die. You can change, and you can change many times, even if you're like 30, 40, 50. It doesn't matter. It's just like you have to want it. And yeah. And
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think the woman in red, right,
yeah.
is the aspiration for many people, right? And this is something that when others see your realization, they realize that that realization can be is possible for them as well. I think that's where
Yeah.
the aspiration comes into play, you know. So that's perfect. Yeah, I love what you just said there.
Thank you. So, okay, I'm going to get back to my list. I wanted to ask you
Yeah,
about the Raspberry Pi. So, my question is, I will read it because it's a long one. Can
no
you
worries.
walk us through the process of setting up your Raspberry Pi 44B test environment and how you identify the and prioritize vulnerabilities to exploit?
Absolutely. So I was kind of looking for ways to, um, I guess, uh, capitalize on many within the community have access to a Raspberry Pi. Okay, but what they don't have is potentially the firmware that is vulnerable, so that they're able to test on that platform. And so I thought it was kind of, we've seen the damn vulnerable web app, we've seen the damn vulnerable routers, we've seen the damn vulnerable IoT, but we haven't seen a damn vulnerable Raspberry Pi. Although there is one that I found that does exist, not quite ours, but it is very similar. So that's kind of the genesis of the damn vulnerable Raspberry Pi, was to say, okay, how can I bridge the gap between the gap that currently exists, let's say in hardware embedded and IT hacking? How can I help the community kind of build a love for it? And I thought, well, what better way to do something collaboratively? So I'll put together a firmware that sits on a potential Raspberry Pi that many people might have, and let's see if we can't roll out some vulnerable firmware to this particular platform for other people to use. And so that was the genesis behind um, the damn vulnerable Raspberry Pi itself. Um, the way we prioritized vulnerabilities was I tried to make it just kind of real world vulnerabilities, but within the constraints of the Raspberry Pi itself. So as you probably already know, the Raspberry Pi has a whole bunch of interfaces, GPIOs. It talks certain protocols. So what you can do is you can capitalize on the pre-existing protocols and GPIOs that it has, and you can create a firmware that kind of contrives vulnerabilities that can be used to teach what it means to do a investigation on an IoT device. So that was the way in which we prioritize. We prioritize it based on real world examples. We've got a glitch attack, for example, that we introduced into the Raspberry Pi. We've got an RCE that we've got available there. There's a few bits and pieces. If you look at the website, you'll kind of come at it. There's a U-boot environment. There's a syslog leak. There's SPI analysis. Weak web credentials, for example. So all these things are kind of real-world IoT style vulnerabilities that we want to introduce into the firmware for people to play with.
Thank you, and I'm really happy that you did that because I wanted to play with that as well. I'm
Excellent.
going to paste that in the chat. So I'm pasting the page. If anyone is interested, you can check it out. And so thank you again for doing that, and that was a great answer. So I'm going to ask the next question.
No problem.
So how do you ensure that your test environment is representative of the real-world systems while still maintaining a safe and controlled testing space?
Yeah, so we put a disclaimer out to say, please don't attach this to any, public networks or what have you, but because obviously it is vulnerable to certain, attacks or what have you. And I guess you could use it to leverage a Raspberry Pi anyway if you had it attached to a public network or some sort of internal network. But this one specifically, you wouldn't want to muck around with. So in terms of how we ensure the safety, well, we don't, because it's vulnerable. So what we say is, okay, use this at your own risk. Please ensure that you're running our firmware and not someone else's firmware. We try and ensure that it's the vulnerabilities that we introduce into the platform aren't necessarily nefarious. They're just there as a learning in a learning capacity, and we're not sending out a Trojan based on an attachment to a network. We're not doing anything nefarious with the device to jeopardize anyone else's environment. It's essentially just local to the Raspberry Pi itself, and they're local from a sense of they've got definite learning outcomes that are required for you to actually solve as a challenge, local to the actual device itself. So we've tried to ensure that there isn't really a way in which you could leverage it for any other purposes.
And can you maybe disclose what kind of vulnerabilities did you introduce into the firmware, and how do you ensure they are stable and reliable?
Yeah, so we obviously test each of the vulnerabilities that we introduce into the firmware as much as we can using the platform. Some of the introduced vulnerabilities are things like that you would find out in the wild. For example, one of them might be an unsecured UART console. So out in the wild, if you were to tear down a device and find UART pinouts, attached to those pinouts, and then use your FTDI cable to interact with the UART, you may find that it drops you into a root shell, for example. Okay, so that's one such vulnerability that we've introduced on this device. Now, the good thing about this device is it comes with a pre-existing data sheet. Now, in order for you to understand where the UART exists on the device, you have to check the data sheet. So it teaches you a little bit about recon, a little bit about information gathering, data sheets, and also what it means to have an unsecured UART and how that exists basically in the real world. Another such one is something like we've got a web shell RCE. Okay, so within the device, we've introduced. I won't go through all of them because there are. I think there's probably. I think there were 11 at last time I checked. But the web shell RCE is just a remote code execution that we've introduced into a web console that you have to find on the device, and then you have to leverage the weakness, the RCE, to uncover a flag, essentially. So we try to introduce real-world vulnerabilities. Yeah, and it's pretty exciting because, I mean, there is a glitch attack there as well, which is kind of cool. It teaches you a little bit about what a glitch attack might be, for example. And the good thing about this particular platform, because it's a playground of sorts, if you then want to do some deep dive into, let's say, glitch attacks, then the world's your oyster. You jump online, you work out what a glitch attack is, and then you can look at some of the other research that's in place online around those sorts of vulnerabilities, and maybe then test out another device by yourself. So yeah, that's what we try. That's what we've tried to do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, and like, yeah, I'm happy that you didn't say like what are all of the vulnerabilities, because we probably wanted to have a surprise and like, yeah, like a CTF kind of like a situation there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so is there like something that you can like say to explain the process of creating a custom firmware image with known vulnerabilities? Like, how do you go about it, and like, why do you think it's useful for teaching hardware hacking?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times when you're hardware hacking, obviously firmware is kind of the gold mine. If we're talking about firmware that you can reverse and then potentially tease out weaknesses within firmware. Um, um, Extract a root file system, for example, work through that root file system to see what you may or may not be able to do in terms of introducing a backdoor, for example. But the way in which we build out the firmware for the Raspberry Pi is basically a cross compiler. We use essentially we compile an image that's based loosely on the Raspberry Pi default image, and I guess any execution or any binaries that we need to introduce onto the device, we use a cross compiler to compile. So we code the actual vulnerability up, we can cross compile it, and then introduce it into the actual Raspberry Pi based on a cross compiler. Okay, and it's probably another conversation to have to kind of delve into what cross compiling is, how it works, but essentially, in a nutshell, that's how we've introduced most of these features, or bugs, so to speak, into the actual firmware. We then use that to there's a definite way to interact with a Raspberry Pi firmware. It uses typically the Raspberry Pi uses an SD card. So everything that runs on the SD card, root file system itself, and the boot file system runs on the SD card. And so what we do is take a snapshot of that SD card, and then when it comes time to introduce a new vulnerability, we then introduce the new vulnerability and then basically burn it back onto the SD card for testing. Once we've actually ratified the testing and we've kind of worked out the bugs with the bugs, we then upload that to our SourceForge repository for everyone to download. And we've got a GitHub as well that kind of shows you, that takes you through how to essentially burn the image back onto your SD card as well, and then you can run the challenges from there.
Thank you. That was like very educational, and I have a comment in the chat, giving back to the community, and we are grateful. And also there was one comment that you were talking about vulnerabilities. So there is a comment: well, some sysadmin are exposing their domain controller to the internet, so it's not that bad. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for the person that wrote that. Yes, that's true. That's very true. I think it's meant to be, as I guess we're alluding to, it's meant to be run locally, and so that you can sit down at your own leisure and not introduce any introduce any vulnerabilities into a local system that you might be running off. And the good thing is it's a Raspberry Pi, so the Raspberry Pis are known to be used as drop-in devices. And obviously, if you really wanted to, if you're nefarious by nature, you could always introduce this sort of thing into a corporate network and see where it takes you. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah.
That's very good. A question, I encourage the chat to ask more questions.
Mhm.
Okay, did you already receive any feedback from the students or other testers that were trying to use the firmware you created for Raspberry Pi? And had how has it helped you to learn, like, I don't know, to maybe create some improvements or for them to learn hardware hacking?
Absolutely. So our GitHub is always available for anyone that wants to do a pull request or raise an issue with the firmware, and we take feedback. Um, we support feedback essentially, because at the end of the day we're trying to give back to the community so that it's something useful and it's not something that can just be we want it to be useful essentially. So we've had a bit of feedback. Yeah, the feedback is it's from what we've gathered, it's a gap within the learning, in open source learning, around hardware hacking, that people enjoy and think is a good thing. Majority of the feedback has been around that. It's been around, this has been a gap. Thank you for providing it for us. And I think the good thing about it is because it's accessible to many people, the Raspberry Pis themselves aren't dear. I mean, they are quite a cheap product, I guess, in the whole scheme of things. Um, for us, we're not, we're not doing this for any other reason other than educational and to help, grow the idea and the niche around hardware hacking. So from our perspective, the feedback has been pretty good.
Oh, that's good to hear. And I do actually I do hear more and more about hardware hacking, and I'm starting to get interested in it myself. I'm actually like, it's not like I'm working, but Adrian that is in the chat, he's also into hardware hacking, and so we are working on a badge, woman in red badge, kind of.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
but he's like doing most of the work. I'm just like saying, oh, this
Well,
has to be red, like.
please say hi to Adrian for me. I've been following you two together, so it's kind of hello. It's
We're waving
yeah,
together.
yeah. We're waiting. Yeah, good. Um, Yeah, I've been meaning to, it'd be interesting to, because it would be great to chat to him as well. I know you guys kind of spent some time together. It would be interesting to chat to him as well, because I know he's fully into this sort of embedded hardware hacking sort of thing. So it'd be nice to have a chat with him actually.
Yeah, maybe we will meet. Maybe there will be like a conference in Australia,
Absolutely.
and
You know
we can
what?
meet.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm bummed that I didn't make the DC33 this year, because you were there. A lot of people that I kind of wanted to meet up with were there. I wasn't able to do it this year, so it was kind of bad timing for me. But hopefully, yeah, next year, if you guys are in the same part of town, we should yeah, get together.
We will be also like going like, because he got from the Call for Papers too, to Deadwood this year to while we're Hacking Fest. So we will be
Oh,
both there. So
congratulations.
yeah,
Nice.
but yeah, actually there's like a lot of conference this year, so maybe I will like do a bit less, send less Call for Papers next year. But let's see. Fingers crossed, we will like find like one that we can like meet and talk to each other. That would be really nice. And okay, so my next question is like a bit unrelated to we were like talking just now, but
Uh-huh.
how do you stay up to date with the latest hardware and software technologies? Like, yeah, how do
Yeah,
you?
I think it's a good question. I mean, I think that's the bane of most people in our industry's existence, because it is quite fast moving, and there's a lot of things to keep, I guess keep your finger on the pulse around, because, yeah, again, it's fast moving, and it's technology, right? It's never going to stay stagnant. I don't know. I just think, for me, I just follow my gut, as we just spoke about. I kind of have a curiosity for a certain thing and just go down a rabbit hole. Um, and then, if I'm missing something, if I hear something, I think community is a good place to keep your ear to the ground, being involved with the hacking community in every sense of the word, by attending conferences, by actually just giving back to the community and gathering input. I think that's a good way to keep tethered to the community and therefore tethered to the technology, because there's undoubtedly going to be someone that's working on something that you find interesting, right? And I think that's a good way to kind of um, you know, catch up and find and research if required. If you don't necessarily understand something, then it's up to you to get your head across it. But I think, to answer your question, community is the way to do that, I think.
Yeah, actually, that's like a very good thing to say. I don't know. I'm trying to word it in English, because sometimes, on my own example, I'm very stuck on one topic, and then I just like look at that one topic, and there are like nothing else exists. But if you just go and like meet in a community, people are talking about their own interests, and maybe there's like something that you never heard before, but that's like actually super cool too. So that's how I got
Exactly.
like introduced to hardware hacking, to the badges and the badge life. Like they're like blinking, they're like fabulous. They can do things. So yeah, that's pretty cool to me as well. And you can also make the badges functional. So listen to I don't know, radio, or actually I'm like the badge that I want for myself. I want it to be functional too, but like for physical pen testing. So could be
Mm,
like a card reader or like something like that. So it's not
mm.
only like it looks nice. It has like a lady in red on it, but you can wear it in your pocket and it actually would do something. So that's like my idea. I would like that very much.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it has to look good as well. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. It has to be functional, but it has to look good too.
yeah, but like it's going to be with this lady here. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Perfect.
like
Yeah.
just if I'm pointing already, like I drew that myself, and there's like the Wonder Woman. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the one on the right there. Yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Woman armor that I wanted to wear on LinkedIn, but like yeah, it's like I didn't buy like the right size, so I guess it's on there now. But it's pretty cool anyway. So okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. I get distracted
Let's
a
do it.
bit. So, are there any plans or for future updates or expansions to the vulnerable firmware? And yeah, do you plan any like new features or like yeah, or
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think we're going to. Yeah, I was going to say. I think we're going to. Maybe expand it to auxiliary items. So, for example, we'll introduce ongoing vulnerabilities into the current firmware. No problem whatsoever. I mean, this just takes a little bit of time. So finding time is kind of paramount. But also maybe using the Raspberry Pi as a part of um, an augmented situation. So in other words, introduce another component into the Raspberry Pi that potentially could have a fault that you need to then work through. So there was a conference I think Joe Grand did way back, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And I think we spoke about this last time as well, but essentially they put together a CTF. Adrian might know about this actually, but they put together a CTF where he had to kind of solve faults within components that were contrived and then have them connected together in order for a rocket ship to take off, right?
Wow.
So yeah, it was really cool. Actually, yeah, it was really good. You can just Google Joe Grand and that particular challenge, and it'll come up. Really, really, really cool to watch as well because you can see kind of Joe sweating through the challenge himself, and kind of just being taking it all in his stride as he was doing it. So maybe something like that. But we're open for suggestions as well. So if anyone has suggestions, please send them through. That'd be cool as well. If there's anything you guys would like to see in the Damn Vulnerable Raspberry Pi, absolutely open for suggestions.
Guys, can you hear us? You can write emails right now. So okay,
Yes.
so uh, yeah, I already asked about plans. So I think you've already answered that questions, but to ask like again at the beginning, because I will stop asking about the Raspberry now. So
Mhm.
can you tell us like I don't know if I answered, so I might not remember. So what inspired you to create this project? Like this is my question now.
Yeah, no, look, we just saw a bit of a gap within. I kind of just want to draw because, as you know, Dorota, we've got a CTF that we run as well.
Mm-hmm.
The this CTF, so that was something that we again, try to give back to the community for it, but it's a CTF around kind of more hardware embedded based CTF.
Hmm.
We've got about 400 users, and we just run it openly and just keep it running there for people that are interested in getting involved
Nice.
with it. Yeah, so I want to take that a kind of a step further and have it a little more hardware focused, so that you can have a tangible device that you can interact with um, in order to just kind of, I guess, tweak people's interest in that area. And so that was really the only reason why we did it, um, just to see what I guess how it would be taken in the community, and whether or not it was a good idea or not. Didn't really mind. We just wanted to kind of give back and just see if there was something we could do to invoke some level of interest within embedded in hardware. So
So
that's really the reason.
yeah, I'm happy that you ignored the question, is it a good idea? Because sometimes we just talk ourselves out of doing something, and that
Yeah,
you just like did it because you want that and you like that topic. So I think that's pretty cool, and like, yeah, and it
that's it.
exists now. So
How you talked about asking yourself the question, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You're asking yourself the question, well, would I like this? If I was wanting to get into hardware hacking, if I wanted to get into embedded, would this be something I could use, for example? You know, and to me, I would have loved something like that when I was starting out, because it would have, just would have been helpful. So that's kind of why we did it.
yeah. That's good. Thank you. So yeah, to follow along with my question again. So what inspired you to create exploit security as well? And can you tell us more about your company? And do you do only pen testing there? Like, there's like only like different things that you like. Someone can call you and like you will like perform for them. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, look, so exploit security is solely a penetration testing practice at the moment. We may look to expand that in the future into um, potentially maybe building out a SOC, for example, so we can do some DFIR or something like that. But at this point in time, it's really just penetration testing. I kind of wanted to focus on that because it's what we love doing, and there seemed to be a yearning for it within industry in terms of the embedded side of things, IoT, for example. I know this is a buzzword, but there seemed to be a growing market for it. So we filled that capability, and we filled that gap, and I guess that was really, I wanted something that I could create from ground roots upwards. Um, I've always wanted to create something like this for myself, for the people that I know, so that I saw it really as another challenge. The challenge that is creating a business. The craft, but the craft extends to also running a business now. So it's just really just another challenge, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. Like, I know how to pen test, but do I know how to sell? Like another layer of things. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Because I mean, I guess as you probably know, you're a woman that wears many hats yourself. But when you do have a startup, something like that, there are a lot of hats that you have to wear up front. It's not just being on the tools, as they say. You have to market, you have to run the business, you have to do the finances, you kind of bring in people when required, all that sort of stuff. So it's just, again, broadening the horizons, and seeing if I come out the other end still with sanity intact.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask about the card I introduced at the beginning of the stream. Like, what in your store there's like a card. Can you tell us more about it and what does it do?
Yeah, so the exploit badge, or the exploit bridge, is essentially a device that kind of looks cool. You can wear it as a badge, but also it has a UART to FTDI interface, so you can use it to interact with the UART ports. It has an SPI interface as well, so you can use it to essentially pull firmware from a device using SPI, and it just talks both of those protocols essentially. So UART and SPI, and it has an SD card reader on board as well. So, for example, you're wanting to for lack of a better item, you need some storage. It's got some storage on there as well that you can utilize to store firmware that you've extracted, for example. But yeah, it's essentially just a bridge that does that. There are many other bridges out there in the space, and it was really something that we put together for our techs that they could use to when they're going onto engagement or when they're going onto site. They can utilize this badge to uh, on site to do work, and that's really what it was. The concept was, let's create something for our penetration testers to use for their everyday usage, and if it happens to sell, well, that's great. But predominantly, it was for them.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
so, if you could like explain in like 3 sentences why is it like a good idea to buy this one? If you will like create a commercial.
Um, it looks cool. When it's lit up, if it doesn't do anything else for you, it looks cool. So you can always wear it as a badge. Um, but I guess the idea is that because it's simple, there is no real. It's relatively cheap, I guess, depending on the way you look at it. But in terms of uh, it's fit for purpose. So if for every hardware hacker, for example, there is a way in which to um, interact with certain interfaces on a device. That particular badge gives, or this particular bridge gives you two um, reasonably uh, I mean, often used protocols on board,
Hmm.
so you can actually use it for you would use it for SPI. It doesn't do many of the other things that, let's say, a tabulator would do, for example. But it is kind of a simple device that you can use that looks cool. If you feel like you need one, go and get one.
Yeah, you had me add it looks cool and I can use it for pen testing. I'm sold.
I mean, that should be my elevator pitch, right?
Yeah. Take all my money. Okay, so I want to ask about the blog on Substract. Like, what do you mostly write about? If someone like would to like subscribe to
Yeah.
your blog.
So Substack for me is just an outlet to get some thoughts out. It's non-penetration testing, non-tech kind of way of just putting down on paper, or in this case, on a blog post or some sort of Substack post, things that I've been thinking about. And it's normally after I have a session with my inner mentor. It's basically things that come out after the time where I've taken maybe 15 minutes to do some mindfulness, and that may spawn something in me, that a question that I need answered, and I go to Substack to answer those questions for myself. And if I feel that those Substack um, if those Substack questions have been answered through my verbal diarrhea that I potentially have, then, and I think it's going to be useful for someone, I'll post about it. That's all that was. That's all that was. Um, some of them have got, some of the things that I've kind of posted about are just ways in which to, um, I guess, reconcile what I've been thinking at a time, and whether or not those thought processes might be useful for other people to listen to or to read.
Yeah, that's sharing with others. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
really good. So let's not like reinvent the wheel. If you already like come up with some ideas, why not share them? So I think that's really good to share, like help others come up with their own ideas. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think like what you're doing, inspiration to other people is what you're trying to get across, right? So if you can help others, then it's a good thing.
Okay, I only have 4 more questions. I just wrote like fifth one, but it will probably be a short one. So to wrap up a bit, if you would to go back in time 10 years and give yourself an advice, what would it be?
Wow. Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think the older I get, the more and more I tell myself that I don't have any regrets, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. or at least the reason is to teach you about yourself and to teach you about the world around you. So I think I answered this the same way last time, but essentially, I look at all failures and successes as a way in which to navigate the world and to, I guess, ingest those learnings in order to make better decisions so that day by day you can get better. And with baby steps, you can move more towards the wiser part of yourself. Um, and so that's why I believe kind of just, I guess, you could classify it as a growth mindset, whereby you're learning from your mistakes. But if I had to choose, I guess something, uh, I would say just remember where you've come from and try and pay homage to those that have come before you, and don't be so dog-minded about your approach to life, because life gets away from you and it doesn't last forever. So use the time wisely and don't uh, squander your time with others, and cherish those around you, because they're only here for a finite amount of time.
I just writing the sentence that you just said. Homage to the people that came before you. So what it reminds me of that sometimes, like I used to feel like, okay, I'm alone. I'm alone in this, so no one is here to help me. I have to go through this alone. But then I realized actually I'm not alone, and I'm like all my ancestors are like standing behind me, and I'm taken care of and guided by their, I don't know, like their lives in a way. So
Absolutely.
I'm not alone. So yeah, just have to think about it. Like maybe, so like if you think I'm alone, that's kind of like a victim mentality, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
if you think, okay, I'm taken care of, I have like a army of people that love me behind me, so then you can think, okay, I can achieve anything that I want because I'm already taken care of, and like I have those people that have my back. So if you like shift your mindset a bit in from the victim mentality of I'm alone, no one is here to help me, to like, oh, I'm powerful because I have those people behind me. They already taught me like everything they could, and so I can
exactly.
learn from their lives as well. So yeah,
Exactly, exactly. I mean, it's a beautiful thought, right? I mean, it's standing on the shoulders of giants, and I
yeah,
think, as you pointed out, that does give you some solace, because you know that you didn't get here in isolation. You got here because of the because of your predecessors. At the end of the day, I know it gets a little bit esoterical, but it is something that I hold dear. And it's when you're young, you don't necessarily have that realization. So
yeah,
I guess I used the opportunity to say, okay, well, if I was able to go back 10 years, that's predominantly what I would be thinking about.
yeah. And yeah, if I would ask that, I'm sorry, I'm talking about myself right now, but if I would ask that question to myself, like I used to when I was like a teenager, or like a very like younger, like not as emotionally intelligent as I am now, I would probably think, oh, I would like get back in time and like not be with that boyfriend, or like do not do this and that. But now when I like I went through so much pain in my life, and I overcame it, and I stood face on against the fear that was like not allowing me to live my full life, and I conquered like two really massive like paralyzing fears in my life. So fear of height when I jumped with a parachute, and then yeah, I was scared,
Beautiful.
but now I'm not scared anymore. And also like fear of like public speaking, because then you just stand in front of people and you're so vulnerable, and
Hmm.
it's like you feel powerless, and people are like feel you feel judged, and if you stand and say to them, okay, I am me, and I love myself. I know those things where I'm talking about, like I have this presentation. And so then it's like, I think it's very powerful to just force yourself into that situation, although you're super scared. And yeah, you can, if you go through like face your big fear and you go out on the other side, I think you can achieve anything in life. So I wouldn't go back in time anymore, like reverse anything that I went through, because it made me who I am today. And it was although it was super painful, it was very character building as well. And now I'm like this powerful, intelligent person. So I think it was
Beautiful,
worth it.
beautiful. Absolutely. I 100% know it's worth it. So yes, perfect. That's very beautiful. Um, yeah, I mean that's a great way to kind of wrap that up. Actually, that's very well said.
Thank you. I have my moments. So okay, let's like I don't know, more relaxed questions now. So your favorite hacker movie?
Yeah, there's so many to choose from. I know a lot of people say Hackers is the goat. I think there's back in my day. So when I was coming up, there was a movie called Sneakers. Quite early on, right? Yeah. There was Tron. So the original Tron was another one that kind of that I was really that I really loved. Um, you know what? I can't really pick one to be honest. But I did say last time I think we spoke was the girl with the dragon tattoo, and I think it's because of just the stylistic way of presenting hackers in that way was kind of what grabbed me about that movie. Um, and it wasn't necessarily too technical, so it wasn't something that was. There wasn't the technical that drew me in. It was more the character that drew me in to that particular film, and um, I'm probably going to stick with that. Stick with the same answer that I gave you last time.
That's a good answer. I really like that character as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so your favorite food now?
Well, I know yours is ramen. Is it still ramen?
Oh, now it's potatoes. Because
Oh,
I'm Polish, so yeah, I went through like an obsession phase of ramen. So I was eating like for like a year, but I was going through like emotional pain then, and I can
okay.
say that I healed my heart with ramen. So if you have like a broken heart, that I recommend ramen. Maybe a good solution for you. I don't know, but now I guess because I'm from region of Poland that has 101 uh, dishes made of potatoes, and it's like really yummy. And I get back to the region I'm born at, and like oh, I miss that, and I miss that. Oh, I haven't had that in years. So now I'm like in that potato phase of my life, I guess, and like
Fantastic.
enjoying myself on a. And I also discovered cheese, and I gained
Ah,
so much weight with that, but discovery, but no regrets there.
yeah,
Uh,
look, I'm with you on the cheese thing. Definitely with you on the cheese thing. Yeah, I, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, there's a very kind of fond memories of actually you're traveling Europe and trying out the cheeses with my wife. You know what I mean? In the different regions with like it was one of the best memories that we've had. I think. Also, the wine doesn't go astray as well. But
oh.
um, look, favorite foods. I'm a very simple person, but I think for me, if I had to sit down and think about it, it'd just be seafood. I really enjoy eating seafood. I think for me, like a nice grilled piece of fish. Don't ask me what type of fish. Maybe a snapper, perhaps. Um, just nice grilled piece of fish with some lemon on the side. Uh, I think goes a long way.
Now I'm hungry.
Goes a long way. Yeah, good job. Yes.
So okay, I will wrap up. I wrote that question last moment, but I sometimes ask it, and like people are like really come up with good ones. So do you
Uh-huh.
have a question for me, like at the end?
Um, well, look, the question I have for you is, I guess it was more of a statement from me to say that I've really enjoyed your content, and I've really enjoyed watching your kind of life through the content that you create. I'm really happy for you. I know that you've struggled in the past, and I'm really happy for you. Is there anything that you're aspiring to do, maybe between now and say next year, that you've had on the list of things to do?
Oh yeah, I because I created the Woman in Red page, but it's now in like in construction, so there is nothing there. But like I would aspire to like find the time to actually start building that page, because I want it
Okay.
to be like a knowledge sharing resource with physical pen testing things, like what kind of log is there, key types, and like how to perform physical pen testing, how
Okay.
to uh, go about physical like security, also, but also like another thing, because I've been manipulated in my life, and I met like narcissistic people like gaslighting me and like whatnot. So like
Hmm.
also like a resource for other people that they could like recognize in early stages when someone is doing that to you. Uh, Social engineering, like elicitation, like some kind of manipulation tactics, when they're like playing with your head. So I was like also like working around that to create as a knowledge resource on that page, but also like I have an like idea to like write a book about that as well,
Oh, beautiful.
to
Beautiful.
like how to see when someone is trying to elicit information and like make you do things that you don't actually want to do, or like make you like love bomb you and like make you fall in love with them, but actually they're like trying to steal all your money, or like I don't know, do something.
Wow.
Uh, so so I'm trying to like give back to the community, because I've been through some of that stuff already, and like from my experience I know what to look at already, and so yeah, to help others in a way. So I'm not really looking to like make money on that, just like make other people aware that sometimes there are like people that are like wolves around us in like a sheep's skin, and
Hmm.
so we should like be mindful, like yeah, what is happening around us, and not trust everyone like 100%. So because we might be surprised, and yeah.
Yeah. Look, beautiful. Look, let us know when that drops. Let us know when you get around to doing that. I'm sure we'll hear about it
Yeah.
when you complete it. But I think it's anytime you put your thoughts down like that on paper, and or in a post, or what have you, you do start kind of learning a lot about yourself as well. Even though you're trying to be the teacher in that case, you're trying to teach people about the certain subject matter that you're describing. You start to look inwards and you start learning about yourself as well. So it's a really good process. I've been tempted to start something like that myself, but never had the guts to do so. So good on you for that.
Yeah, I think it might be like in a bit healing as well. So
Mm,
because I used to be like a very I want to say like very naive, but like when I was it, like everyone is a bit naive when we are like teenagers, and in our like 15-year old, like something like that.
mm.
So we all have to learn through experiences to be like less trusting, and so yeah, it's just like it's kind of like a I'm kind of writing that book for myself as well, so I can like learn
That's
new things as well.
therapy. Yeah,
So
therapy,
yeah,
ongoing therapy.
yeah, ongoing therapy, yeah, I guess.
Well, look,
So
let us know where you are, both you and Adrian, next year. But I know you're obviously busy, doing the rounds in terms of the conference circuit, etc. So congratulations on all that. Let us know when you're around next year as well, because I'd love to meet up with you two in Vegas if possible, if that's where you are at that time. So let me know where you are. And it's been really, really good talking to you again today,
yeah,
Dorota.
I can actually, yeah, I thought like maybe I'm not going next year because it was so overwhelming for me, but
Uh,
I will probably like get over. I'm still like jet lagged and in Vegas time a bit. So
gotcha.
when I will get some decent sleep and like get over that experience, I will only remember that it was like so cool, and I got all the badges, like stickers, like memories from that, and like I bought like a lot of books as well. So and didn't go to Black Hat and besides Vegas, and it's like pretty much at the same time. So maybe
Yeah.
like next year it could be I can send more call for papers and actually maybe get accepted somewhere to speak. So yeah, that might be like my next step, because this year I only went as a person that visits, but maybe next year I could be a speaker. So that could be like a yeah, climbing a
There you
ladder
go.
in a way.
There's the next goal. There you go, right there.
Yeah, so maybe that's a plan. So I wanted to thank you for coming. Yeah, you're like super nice and intelligent person. I can talk with you for hours, to be honest. But yeah, I have
Likewise.
to. I'm starting to get a bit hungry as well, and I had to let you go. So you have a life as well. You cannot be talking with me all day. But so wanted to thank you for coming. It was a pleasure and talking with you again, and like sharing the knowledge and sharing that with the community as well. And yeah, hope to meet you in the future. And yeah, thank you. And if you
Likewise.
so I like saying goodbye already. But if you have something to say at the end, you can like now it's your time.
Thank you, Doreen. It's been really good chatting with you again. And likewise, everything you said back at you. Look forward to what you do in the next year or so. And say hi to Adrian for me, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thank you. So I am going to wave now and change the screen. So thank you again. Bye.
See you. Bye.
So I wanted to yeah, I wanted to thank my I don't believe I have any Patreon subscribers right now, but if that's like not to my current knowledge, then I wanted to thank them as well. But if you want to follow and subscribe, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. I also created a page, but it's like I only shared on LinkedIn once. It's not on my link tree yet. And so yeah, you can follow me on those, and hope to see you today as well. Because this is like my first stream, but I'm also doing one in. If I could only count like 3 hours from now, I will be talking with Alice. She's a social engineer, and she's very skilled. So I hope to see you there. And yeah, that's going to be the end for now. So I'm going to wave and say goodbye. So thank you. Bye.